Now I'm gonna talk about how to write a result section for one between subjects one-way analysis of variance. So this is our statistical output from JASP. You can look at my other video wherein I demonstrated on how to run between subjects analysis for variance, wherein I used this particular problem. This is a test of hypothesis as to whether marital status, which is a categorical independent variable, the categories are never married, married, and divorced, is associated or can predict life satisfaction of individuals. So essentially, we are asking whether there are systematic variation in life satisfaction among individuals who have different marital statuses, and this is the result. We have a significant p-value for our ANOVA, which means that there is a systematic variation. We run our post hoc test, and we find difference in the life satisfaction between divorced and married, as well as divorced and never married, but there is no statistical difference in the life satisfaction of those who are married and never married. Specifically, it seems that those who are married and never married are have a higher life satisfaction compared to those who are divorced, and this is the plot. So I asked my students to try and write a report about that particular result, and specifically I asked them to include in the report the following. So I asked them to remind their reader of the objective of the study, to remind them of the hypothesis they forwarded, and to say what statistical technique was used to test the hypothesis, which is between subjects one-way analysis of variance, to talk about the result of that ANOVA, to talk about the effect size, and then mention or remind the reader of the post hoc used, and then to talk about the result of the post hoc together with the descriptives, and finally to write a sentence that is describing the meaning of the results. So I asked my students to write on their own, and this is one of the submitted report. So our job today is to try to improve what the student has submitted. First, we should make this double space, which is standard for APA format. Okay. All right. So the student wrote, the purpose of the study is to determine whether there is a significant difference between a person's marital status and their life satisfaction. That is a bit misleading, because it seems that the student or the statement is suggesting that we are comparing marital status and life satisfaction, which is not really what we want to do, and it doesn't make sense really to compare one variable with another variable. I think what the student wants to say here is whether there are significant differences in the let's erase this, in the life satisfaction of individuals um, in 3 or um, across different marital statuses. Okay, all right. And then, so that is the objective of the study. And then I asked them to state the hypothesis, statuses, which the student forgot to indicate. All right, so the hypothesis, let's state the hypothesis. It was hypothesized that those who are married and never married would have higher life satisfaction compared to those who are divorced. Okay. No offense to those who are divorced. This is just an example. This is just hypothetical data. Okay. And then I asked them to indicate what was the analysis used. So the student wrote the collected data was analyzed using between subjects one-way ANOVA. Okay. This is not necessarily a proper noun. Okay. All right. And then after that, the result of the ANOVA. The result revealed, I always ask my students to use present tense when they are discussing the result. The result is not a matter of, is not in the past. The result is current. And so you should say the result reveals that a person's marital status affects a person's life satisfaction. Okay. Well, that's one way to say it. There are redundancies here, but I guess a better way to say it is that results reveal that there are significant different what's another way of saying this? There are many ways of saying this, but I don't want to sound exactly the same as my opening statement. Maybe I can say the result reveals that life satisfaction significantly differ among individuals with different marital statuses. All right. Again, it is important to point out that there is, there are a variety of ways that you could say this. I'm just trying my best to make this less redundant, because there is a tendency to be redundant when you are writing a result. Okay, and then right after that, separated by a comma, we need to indicate our statistics. Okay, so it should be, instead of this, it should be f, and then in parentheses are 2 degrees of freedom. Where do we get that from? So these 2 degrees of freedom, so 2 and 27, so 2 comma 27 close parentheses equals, and then our p-value, which is 14.261 comma, let's double check, 14.261, that is our f value. Okay, let's see our p-value less than 0.001. Okay, p equals or is less than 0.001. Sorry, p is less than 0.001. Okay, so that is how you should express your result. Okay, and then an effect size of 51.4% of the variation can be maybe what you can say here is that variation in one's or in marital status accounts for 51.4% of the variation in life satisfaction. Okay, life satisfaction is not a proper noun, so we should not capitalize the first letter. Where did we get the 51.4%? It is here in our output. So our eta squared, which is 0.514, which translates into 51.4% of the variance in our outcome variable, life satisfaction, is accounted for by the variation in marital status. Okay, and then I asked them to talk about the post hoc that they used. The two key, or you can say two keys HSD was used as post hoc analysis, or you could say it was used to determine which of the means are actually different, but this would be sufficient. 2 keys HSD was used as post hoc analysis. And then the result of the post hoc, we already said post hoc here, so to avoid redundancy, the results show that people who are married and never married, and then right beside married and never married, their respective descriptives, mean and standard deviation, have a significantly higher life satisfaction, no need for a comma, than people who are divorced. And then this is the descriptives. All right, so this is good. What you want to include is or are the p-values. So there will be 2 p-values here. One are the p-value for our comparison between married and divorced, And second, the p-value for our comparison between never married and divorced. So married and divorced, what is the p-value for the two key? Married, divorced, less than 0.001. So we should say p is less than 0.001. And then we have another one. So maybe separated by a comma. Divorced and never married equals to 0.001. Equals to 0.001. So it's either p is less than 0.001, comma p equals 0.001, and then you can say respectively, or we can say it collectively, and we can simply say that since less than 0.001 and exactly 0.001 are both less than 0.01, so maybe we can just say p's, which means this, which are referring to the two probability values. P's are less than 0.001, so that's practically the same, and we don't have to use the word respectively. So that's one way of saying it, and then, but if you like another way of saying it, if you want to specify both p-values, that's fine. In addition, people who are divorced and married, yeah, we already said that. We already said that. Okay, so we can remove this. This part is basically discussing the p-values, which we already have integrated in this earlier sentence, so we can remove that. And then the student said, on the contrary, people who were married and never married have no significant difference. On the contrary, people, or you can say, on the contrary, the life satisfaction of those who are married and never married are not significantly different. And then let's put the p-value there. No need for it to be in a parentheses, no need for the 0, just say 0.557. And then finally, the meaning of the result, something that a layman can understand. The findings suggest that a person that has never married or married are more likely to be satisfied with their life. I try to avoid using the same terminology as the variable, so maybe instead of satisfied with their life, maybe you can talk about what life satisfaction means based on your literature. Findings suggest that a person that individuals who are married or never married are more likely to what does it mean to have satisfaction in life? Well, it depends on your literature, um, but assuming that this is what life satisfaction means in my based on my literature, I can say um, are more likely to be contented contented with various aspects of their lives, um, um, compared to those who have been divorced. The findings suggest that individuals who are married or never married are more likely to be contented with various aspects of their lives, compared to those who have been divorced, assuming that this is how we define life satisfaction. Okay. And then finally, let us italicize all of our notations. That is very important. Even this one, HSD, which stands for honestly significant difference. Okay, all notations must be italicized. Okay. Okay. Italicize the P, but not the S, which makes it plural. Then, okay. So let's read results. APA, this should be bold and it should be centered. Okay. The purpose of the study is to determine whether there are significant differences in the life satisfaction of individuals across different marital statuses. It was hypothesized that those who are married and never married have higher life satisfaction compared to those who are divorced. The collected data were analyzed using between subjects one-way analysis of variance. The result reveals that life satisfaction is significantly different among individuals with different marital statuses. Variation in marital status accounts for 51.4% of the variation in life satisfaction. Tukey's HSD was used as post-hoc analysis. The results show that people who are married and never married have a significantly higher life satisfaction than people who are divorced. And then the p-values. On the contrary, the life satisfaction of those who are married and never married are not significantly different. The findings suggest that individuals who are married or never married are more likely to be contented with various aspects of their lives compared to those who have been divorced. Okay, so that sounds it can still be improved, but it sounds decent enough for the meantime. It serves the purpose of demonstrating how to write a report for ANOVA. So that's it. This is the end of the short tutorial. I hope you learned something, and see you around for the next video.